Hello, everyone. Hi, this is Guido Brackelsberg, and I'm welcoming you to episode 15 of our Fashion Community Talk. Today, I'm going to talk with Ton Wiedenhoff, the Executive Director of Europe for Alvanon. Ton, it's so cool to have you on this call. Hi.
Hi, Guido. Thanks.
For those of us that don't know what you're doing, tell us quickly.
All right, Guido. Well, a little bit over a year, I'm running the operation for Alvanon in Europe. Alvanon is a digital company in terms of owning and shaping the body and the sizing and fit in the garment industry. However, 25 years ago, we started building I should say, the most professional mannequins or fit forms in the industry. So most of us may know us from there. However, in the meantime, we are in the same transition like everybody else, moving into 3D. I'm based in the Netherlands. However, our team is spread all over Europe. So I'm very much looking forward to your questions and this interview, Guido.
So here we go. And I think, Avalon has a global footprint. So that's something we talked about before is, do you see different levels of digital adoption between Asia, US, and Europe? And if there are, what are the reasons for that?
Oh, well, definitely. I mean, let's say before the pandemic, there were already differences, and it has just become more significant after and during the pandemic. Let's divide them into three areas, right? Just for easy sake: Asia, US, and Europe. And to start with Asia, we could see that in the past there was a strong pull out of Asia to be more into 3D innovation. And there are obvious reasons, we think, for that. One thing is that Asia is very much process driven and very much pressured by the lack of margin or the really strong push on the margin. So everything can be optimized, made more efficient, more transparent, is of course a huge advantage if Asia could have that. So there was a strong pull for that. And this became more strong during the COVID. You could imagine that factories, manufacturers, agents, local sourcing offices were missing, for example, approvals of size sets, samples, fitting approvals, designs, the lacking of our designers, buyers traveling over there, communicating about the shapes and the fits and the designs and the colors of the new collections. So there was a strong pull out of Asia, and this became more strong during the pandemic. For the US, I should say, US has always been ahead of Europe in terms of process. And it was like this, let's say, in the old era, and it's now in the new area as well. And the reason is that I should say the US is in our industry is more commodity driven, right? Yeah. They more talk about numbers, it's less about fashion, huge stores. I mean, it's much more easy. I mean, the Americas tend to speak in dozens as we in Europe speak about pieces, right? So it's more easy to integrate digitization and a digital process into a company with bigger turnover, bigger inventory, bigger losses, of course, as well, chances to have losses. So we see that, and it became more strong. And Europe is kind of strolling behind. They were, and they are still, unfortunately. However, there's very positive reason for it, because we tend to be much more, let's say, designer driven, creation driven, right? We are tweaking here and there. However, to get to the right SKUs, to the right number of production, it's more hard. It means as well that our abilities to set things into process and optimize it is as well more difficult. And when I speak about I generalize Europe right now, Guido. So yes, there's three different kind of levels, we could say, and the pandemic has, at least the communication, been more easy to integrate this, and at least that we see in Europe now that it's really, really catching up, which is exciting.
Yeah, which is good stuff. But yeah, that gets me actually to the point is when where you I think you really nicely explained the differences. Large size, but you also have more large corporates in the US.
Right.
It's larger volumes, but they're more equity driven versus here it's more the let's say Mittelstand, as we say it in German, a very typical word. So it's more entrepreneur driven. Um, do you see differences there as well? In terms of what's the short and long term vision of a company, because this is something that you provide, and also we as Setlock provide in terms of digitization. These are investments, but do you see differences there?
Yeah, well, like you say, and I think for you, for in Setlock as well, you will encounter this, is the vision of, for example, the boards or management, high level for an SME, small medium enterprises, which we mainly have in Europe, is a bit different than really from the huge multinational ones. And what do I mean with that? I think, and especially during this pandemic, let's say shareholders, owners tend to be driven on cash, short-term vision, really getting quick turnaround on investments. And unfortunately, it slashes as well the investment in this innovation or digitization. And I don't know if you see this as well, Guido, but we do strongly have seen this actually before and now during the pandemic as well. Designers, or let's say creative people, tend to think in a creative way. However, a long-term vision there is very much necessary to start integrating the processes and keeping this vision all along, no matter what happens. So there needs to be a certain lumps of cash and a certain vision of the shareholders to put it separate to well, to overcome all this. So yes, for sure, we could see that let's say in America, this vision is integrated more high up than what we see with SMEs, companies in Europe. And I hope, and I'm quite confident, or actually I'm quite sure right now, that this has changed. We can see that companies who came back to us who already had this vision on long-term integrating PLM, ERP, design systems, CAD/CAM systems, virtual catwalks. The ones who had this vision and kept the vision are much more healthier now, getting out of this, let's say, kind of global and national lockdowns. And I'm maybe you can agree to this as well. I think maybe you have the same experience.
No, I do, and I see. I think there's a huge opportunity for us here in Europe, as as we are not so attractive to, let's say, Far East suppliers compared to US brands. But this is with Matthijs, I had to talk a few weeks back about from the IAF about supply chain solidarity, and I think this is a huge opportunity for us here in Europe to foster greater supply chain integration using also digital tools. Of course, it is a partnership that you have with your suppliers and that you intensify that, but then implementing or getting the best use, let's put it that way, not only invest, but get the best use out of the digital tools that the two of us, for example, but many others also provide, is there's a huge opportunity there to gain efficiency, Slack, to get Slack, this the costs that nobody wants in the supply chain that are there, that no one hurts,
Yes.
To really get it out of the supply chain. So I would completely subscribe to what you say. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the let's say the extra benefit out of this digitization is that, like you mentioned, is this partnership in the supply chain. So manufacturers, agents, brands, designers, all working together, but it creates transparency. This is the indirect benefit, because a supplier who's choosing software, or actually at this moment, let's make it generalized. Let's generalize it. The Asian manufacturers have to choose various kind of softwares, buy subscriptions to match to their partners, to their clients, right? Match the softwares there. However, by doing this, by investing in this, they invest in their long-term partnership and creates this transparency, which we're all calling out for. So it is a direct and very much an indirect tool to create transparency, which I think is good.
No, absolutely. This is absolutely heading the right way, and we have many talks here on the fashion, community that about digitization. Last week I had Dreikorn, Florian Reusch, who says, how how let's say COVID-19, he said, was an accelerator, for digitization. So there's a huge change of mindset. I really see that as well. But talking about huge mindset, I think something that you really care about, and I do as well, is about the young people. And when we go to universities, I mean, what do you see there? How do they see what's happening at the universities? And how are universities dealing, with their curriculums? What they're training. There seems to be a big gap between what really the future of what the industry requires in the future and what's actually being taught at university. What do you see there?
Yeah, well, you're very right, Guido. That I see this. We have the same experience. And okay, beware. I don't want to step on toes here, but I mean, there is a kind of reality check missing, I should say, or connections are missing. We do see universities stepping up now, private schools, academic partners stepping up on the request on 3D. However, it's still kind of very tunneled. It's very channeled, right? It's not a holistic approach. So we see bits and pieces starting there to have it in the curriculum. However, what we experience as well, that in the past few months, the curriculum which they taught already, let's say in front in the classroom in the university, was just changed into a virtual one, right? Without adding the extra opportunity right now on these digital solutions. So we see still a lack of communication and connections between various kind of universities, design schools, all kind of, let's say, business schools, to create a virtual supply chain. And that's really still missing. And that's why we are really, pushing and teamed up with a lot of these kind of universities, even to give them access for free to all these different kind of tools, because we understand the investment for a school and a university to buy these different kind of softwares. However, by allowing them at least to show in front of a classroom what possibilities there are with very kind of partnership, we hope that there will be a stronger integration, and the people who are, let's say, creating these curriculums are there as well to integrate it and have a stronger connection now, let's say, to the industry.
Absolutely. Irene Schoppmeier, she is on the DTB board as well, and she's in Munich, a professor for fashion and design, and it's really bugging her as well. I think it really needs an industry-wide consensus. It also needs the industry as well to support that in order to get more digital tools into the universities. It is so fast. It goes, innovation is so fast these days. It's really difficult for everyone to keep up. And I think we really have to team up there together to really make it work for us in the future. So, well, it's been wonderful, Tom. Thank you very, very much for being here, for sharing your thoughts. And I have to say bye-bye to you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Great fun. Thanks, Guido. Good luck.
It was great having you, and bye-bye to the community. See you next week. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.